Day, trying to figure out a way to put together a comedy tour with some of the comics that you hear on my show in the sort of milieu of Sexy Liberal tour that Stephanie Miller does with some of the great comics around the country. I hope that you're happy, healthy, and safe today, wherever you might be. It is a gorgeous day in Chicago. This is the kind of weather that I absolutely love. It's sunny, a little bit of a breeze. You know, I don't like to work out that often. I don't like to, well, one, that's not true. I like to go walking, which is a workout. And I go planking. We've talked about that a little bit before. That's carrying a garbage bag and latex gloves, and I pick up garbage in the neighborhood while I go hiking, planking. And it's cathartic, and it gives me an excuse to do lunges and squats in the neighborhood while picking up the garbage. Only I'm starting to suspect that my neighbors know that I'll be around, so some of them seem to be putting out more garbage on their on their curbs and leaving stuff behind. You would be, well, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but it is shocking how many empty, I would say White Claws are the number one item that I'm picking up. And so I have to carry 2 bags, one for recycling, which makes sense. A lot of plastic bottles, but I would say a Modelo. The beer cans of Modelo are also common items that people just toss. And obviously cigarette butts, and that's a lot of lunging and squatting. Could you just please, I'm guessing if you're listening to this show, you're not the kind of person that sits on the curb and just drops your White Claw right there in the street, or your little bottles of Fireball. I'm not saying I'm angry about what people throw away when they're in the neighborhood, but that's what they're doing. I just think that picking up the garbage, keeping our neighborhoods clean, reminds people that people there care, reminds our neighbors that we care about each other. So if you get a chance, go planking. It's cathartic. It's by the way, our number is 773-763-WCPT. That's 773-763-9278. You can call or text us to that number. We would love it, though, if you called so we could hear your lovely voices, like our friend Santita says every morning. And you can also catch the show on our live stream. Go to WCPT 820's Facebook page, like the page, so you can stay up to date on all the information that we share, conversations, breaking news, and watch the live stream. So let me go to my phone so I can make sure that I can see who's. Sometimes I forget we have so much to talk about that I don't get a chance to check in as much as I should with our friends watching and listening online. A lot of folks say that I have so many friends that tell me, they're like, "Oh, I forget that you're on," which is fun, which is sweet, and that they're apologetic about it. I don't hold my friends accountable if they happen to miss the show. We all have things to do in our lives, but right now we are live streaming, and I've been remiss to make sure that I check in with our friends online. So go ahead and join us there. I'm posting it right now. Please plug the YouTube live stream too, please. Oh, the YouTube live stream. We have a live stream on YouTube. I should probably know all these things. We also have a YouTube live stream. I have not been plugging that. Wait, I have to go there now and check out what that looks like. Am I on YouTube? I've been so bad about making my own YouTube channel. So I should do that and then cross-promote it and have that available as well. So go to WCPT's YouTube live stream as well. I'm going to pull that up right now. We can pull it up together and watch the live stream there. Live, local, and progressive. I have to find my stream. I don't know how to find it. Patty, I have to find Driving at Home, maybe? I'm finding it with you is what we're doing. Now, if you're driving, just you're in the car, you don't have to worry about this stuff. I've been thinking about this tweet all day. There was an incredible story shared by a woman on Twitter. Her name is Summer Brennan, and she shares this heartbreaking story about her father. She contracted COVID in 2020. Here's what she writes. "When I got COVID in 2020 and spent weeks in the hospital, it was harrowing, but it was nothing compared to what my family is dealing with now, also a result of COVID. This is a COVID horror story in which no one actually gets COVID, and it could still happen to anyone. In August, my dad was living independently in rural New Mexico, as he has for years, in a beautiful place with a view of the mountains. He got vaxxed against COVID as soon as it was available, wore masks, and was waiting out the pandemic like the rest of us. Then he had a fall. When I called the hospital and he admitted he was in the hospital, he was more annoyed than anything else. And this happens to a lot of our parents, right? They don't want you to worry about them, or they figure, there's a generation of people who are like, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I'll ride it out. I'll walk it off, that kind of thing. I know that my dad was like that. My mom is strong and independent, and she always wants to do things for herself. And sometimes it puts our parents at risk, and you have to walk that fine line of not worrying too much and being there, and obviously make sure that you're as supportive as possible. So anyway, Summer writes, when I called and he admitted that he was in the hospital, he was more annoyed than anything else. He had tripped, he hurt his leg, he couldn't go home for a week or two. How irritating, how dumb, and he blamed himself. He loved me, he hoped I was well, he was fine, etc. That was the last call. What happened was that while in the hospital, my dad caught viral pneumonia that went unnoticed. The whole state was in lockdown, and every hospital ICU was filling up with unvaccinated COVID patients. There weren't enough resources. The governor kept begging people to get vaxxed. My dad was not in the ICU, but in a physical rehab unit of the hospital to help him with his leg. They now say they did not know he had pneumonia at that point. He collapsed on the floor in his room and was left there unnoticed for 6 hours. When they found him, he was blue and had an oxygen level of 50. He did not have COVID. He was taken to the ER and put on a ventilator, but they had to put him in a storage room because there physically was not enough space due to all the unvaccinated COVID cases. 24 hours later, he was off the vent and his oxygen levels were restored. My siblings who live closer flew in. I spoke to him and he was out of it, but okay. Surely he would get treatment now. We thought that was the worst of it. It was not. It was later explained to me that this hospital decided to re-intubate my father due to a lack of hospital resources. They couldn't manage. He could not see a cardiologist or a pulmonologist. They were all busy. They could not run the needed tests, so they kept him on a vent. In normal circumstances, they simply would have transferred my dad to a larger hospital. There were several close by. It wowould have been routine, but due to COVID, it was impossible. So impossible, they thought, that they didn't even tell me he needed to be transferred. A few days later, while I had thought my dad was improving, I kept being reassured by the nurses when I called. I finally called and got an exhausted, angry nurse who said bluntly, "We are tapped out, and because of that, your father is going to die. Maybe today. I'm so sorry." I demanded to speak to the doctor, and he said more or less the same thing. The state was maxed out. My dad needed a cardiac ICU bed, or at least a cardiologist, and there was nothing for him. There was no hope and no point of even trying. Everywhere was full of the unvaccinated. Now, there have been other stories like ours in the news over the past month or so. There was the father who was turned away from 43 ICUs and sadly passed away. People were being flown across state lines to try to save them, their families in terror, the health systems in chaos. My dad's doctor said that New Mexico's ICU bed planning was centralized, so there was no point even calling New Mexico hospitals. But I could try ICUs in Colorado, Arizona, Texas, Utah, California, even though he said they had already tried all those. He would try again. I could call. I thought he was just humoring me. The doctor said to send him any leads. So when I called hospitals, I said I was calling on his behalf. I never said I was his assistant or medical staff, but they talked to me. They were all maxed out. Nothing they could do. After about 5 panicked hours of contacting every hospital, every person I could think of, and screaming my helplessness into the maw of the internet to see if anyone at all could help us, we finally reached a doctor in an Albuquerque hospital ICU who agreed to admit my dad. So that was 2 weeks ago. If he'd gotten to that ICU even hours later, we would have lost him. They had to perform heroic acts to stabilize him. In a week, his pneumonia had been brought under control, and he was starting to heal. They talked about a full recovery. However, by that point, my dad had been on a vent for more than 10 days, simply because of a lack of access to care. If you're a medical professional, you know why this matters. All signs looked good, and so they decided to extubate him. At first, he tolerated it, and then he didn't. 3 days later, they had to intubate my dad for the 3rd time. They said that doing this could result in permanent disability. He could fully recover, but he also might not ever be independent again. They gave me the option of making him comfortable instead, and you know what that means. But in my dad's power of attorney. He'd been clear that he wanted people to fight for him in a circumstance like this, so I said no. I told them to fight and do whatever they could to save him. To save my dad, they had to perform a tracheostomy for a long-term weaning from the ventilator. That means making a hole in his windpipe. Like Stephen Hawking, someone said, it might be temporary, it might not. They didn't know if it would save him, but so far, at least, it has. I think of my dad before all this happened, still working, living in his own rented home, looking out at the mountains, calling his children in California and France. The doctors and nurses say that at a full recovery and getting off the trach is possible, but it will be hard. They also say that none of this would have happened if it were not for the fact that so many people remain unvaccinated against COVID. Even in New Mexico with a decent vaccination rate, the system is overrun. This is all Summer Brennan's story. She asks, please get vaccinated. Please wear a mask. You never know how it will affect you. This is the thing is that, we talk about our medical professionals. We talk about how strained they are, nurses and doctors who are trying desperately to save the lives of people, many of whom who have chosen not to be vaccinated. And this is that idea behind It's My Freedom. But you do not have the freedom to take Summer Brennan's dad from her. We'll be right back after this. 773-763-WCPT. That's 773-763-9278.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
If we don't get a significant part of the unvaccinated population of this world vaccinated, sooner or later, the virus is going to figure out how to defeat the vaccines we've gotten. So they're going to basically bring us down.
Joan Esposito, weekday afternoons 2 to 5 on WCPT 820.
Exam 4 needs to be sanitized.
Mersana's MRI clinic isn't operating at max efficiency. She needs a new certified tech certifiably now.
Someone's waiting in room 2 for an ACL scan. Can you handle that?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey everybody! By the way, Zach, I don't know how to. I don't have the tunes up, and I have to learn how to use this screen. But after 5:30, we'll figure out how to do the bumps again because I have all of Hal Sparks's. I think. Let me see what's. Now I just want to see what Hal Sparks's stuff is. Hold on. Oh no, that's not.
Out Chicago.
It's Out Chicago. I don't know where mine are. I have to figure out how to use. This is the one screen. Well, that's not true. I don't know how to use a lot of these screens. Zach, you didn't have to run here. I was saying we could do it during the traffic. Intros. There we go. It was that top left button. See? All right, let me see if I can do that myself. You guys are learning with me. There we go. All right. There's my stuff. Here's the song we didn't. Well, you know what? Let's do. How about this one?
On January 6th, 2021, followers of Trump and something called QAnon attempted a coup at the United States Capitol. Who are these people? I want to live with the.
All right, sorry, just playing around with the buttons, seeing if I can learn them. Sometimes I have to do things. It's like a production on the air. Again, our number is 773-763-WCPT. That's 773-763-9278. I was reading the story of Summer Brennan, who posted that on Twitter. If you want to follow her or take a look at the post and maybe share it and amplify that story. I don't know. I don't know what it would take to convince people that getting vaccinated is the American thing to do. It is the patriotic thing to do. It is how we take care of each other, wearing masks, staying socially distant, and getting vaccinated. This is how we get through this. This is how we save lives. This is how we make sure that there are beds available when someone like Summer's dad falls and hurts himself, when there's a car accident, when there's a cardiac situation, for anybody who might need care. I fell. I was standing in a parking lot at the Sunday Jefferson Park, the Jefferson Park Sunday Market a couple weeks ago, talking to my friend Jerry. Hi, Jerry. By the way, Jerry Jerry was pointing out that sometimes the scroll that translates what I'm saying onto the screen. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube or Facebook, but it says Patti Baskets, Paddy Baskets instead of Patti Vasquez. But that's also, by the way, Jerry, how my phone reads it. It always takes Vasquez as baskets. So I think that's more of a transition thing or a translator thing on any voice to dialogue thing. But I was standing there talking to Jerry. It was early in the morning. I think I'd had my coffee. I wasn't tired. I wasn't too tired, but there was some uneven pavement, and I turned to talk to respond to something, and I caught the lip of this pothole, and I went down, and I got a cut on my knee, and I didn't think much of it. We cleaned it off and put some bandages on it, and I thought it looked a little bit wider than I would like, but I figured it'll be fine. It would take some time to heal. I'd probably have a scar, to go with all the scars I got from when I was a kid, sliding into second or falling off my bike. And I was like, I could weather that. And then I got home and I took off the bandages, and my husband looked at it. He goes, "Get in the car. We need to go to urgent care." And turns out I needed 5 stitches. And that was just standing there having a conversation. I just went down, and that if it had been something, imagine if it had been for anyone, if you're living in a community where the ICU beds are short, where they are, so there are counties in Illinois where I know last week there were none left, and so. I mean, things happen every day, in rural areas, accidents on farms, on the roads, in communities. If people who refuse to get vaccinated are taking up these beds, and it is, look, 15 to 20% of them right now, as of last week, were dedicated to patients who were COVID patients. And yes, people will talk about, well, so how many of them were unvaccinated? How many were vaccinated? This pandemic is now a pandemic amongst the unvaccinated as far as how it affects them directly. But it is a pandemic for all of us. It is, if you get hurt, there won't be the availability of a bed or doctors, specialists, as we just heard in that story by Summer Brennan and how it affected her father. So, but I don't know, what are your ideas for convincing people? I don't think that pleading to people, pleading with them that this is about their families too, about their neighbors. That doesn't seem to work. We have 2 zip codes in Chicago that are spiking on the south side, Mount Greenwood, on the northwest side, Norwood Park and parts of Jefferson Park. That means that my neighbors are still, they continue to not want to get vaccinated, and they continue to have a negative impact, a unhealthy, unsafe impact on the people in our community. And I think that a lot of people are really letting their guard down. I've been at events, or I've seen photos of events where people who are the ones that are making these requirements of masks and encouraging people to get vaccinated are in close quarters, indoors, and they're being photographed without their masks on. And it's, we can't, if we're not even living by example. And I'm sure I get caught in a photo where I'm somewhere and I maybe took my mask off to take a sip of something or eat something. I'm not talking about those. I'm actually talking about posed photos. You can't have the moral high ground if you won't even do the minimum of what you're asking other people to do. So I have to ask our electeds to be cognizant of that, to be aware of being the example that they continue to say that they aspire to. I do not get it. Somebody, Heather Holloway says, our friend in Michigan, says that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wants to see all the NBA get vaccinated. Yeah, I mean, but I'm guessing again there are people who are not. I don't even know if we can say that people are just hesitant. People are resistant. We can't say hesitant. We have to say resistant. By the way, Jerry just messaged me and said, hey, don't forget, snow and ice are coming, which means that the roads will be worse. People just walking on the sidewalks are going to be prone to falling. We have folks who, when they do fall, it can be a life-threatening situation. So, again, I don't know what it's going to take. If you have any ideas, let me know. Give us a call or text or message us on our Facebook live stream. I know that there's a lot of folks who are concerned. And I often feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but it is scary to think that that we're going to continue not only for this virus to be part of our lives for as long as, just like the Spanish flu continues to be what we live with. We get those vaccinations every year, and now we will have to add to that the coronavirus vaccinations. A lot of folks are getting their booster shots as soon as they're eligible. I know I'm one of those folks. If I become eligible, I will get that booster shot. I have to go in for my flu shot. I know that I still have to do that, and my husband's probably listening because look, I've been hesitant in the past to get my flu shot every year. I've been one of those folks who says, well, I'll be fine. But in this situation, I don't even want to have the possibility of getting the flu and having to be a burden either on my family or on the healthcare system, because right now we need to be there for each other in any way that we can, and that means taking care of ourselves in ways that also takes care of others. I've been watching some of the testimony today. Joan was playing the testimony of the generals, and I was wondering what you thought about that moment where General Miley was asked about doing the interview with the author of the book that's come out, and it was Bob Woodward's book, and I thought Joan's right. Journalists and writers have been involved in covering the story of the military, interviews with them, cover it being embedded. And why is this a problem? I mean, so our legislators, are they also going to stop giving interviews, whether it's on TV or on radio and print? I had never. I mean, look. Let's just, for example, the Chicago Police Department. They have people who are in charge of deciding whether or not I can have someone on my show to represent the Chicago Police Department. I don't know what the regulations are for the military. I would imagine there's got to be a protocol as far as sitting down with authors and having those conversations, because people usually like to have some oversight in those situations. We have on the line with us Dave from Hoffman Estates. Hey, Dave, how are you doing?
Hey, Patty.
Hey,
on that hearings today, do you recall about a month ago when you had I believe he was a former editor at both of the papers in Chicago, and we were talking. I said that when the campaign comes, if Biden were to run, the first thing they're going to start using is the pictures of those planes and stuff like that, with those Afghanis running after the planes. And if you looked at, I forget which Republican senator it was, but he had a big board. And what did they have? 2 pictures of the planes and,
yep,
and all of that.
Oh yeah.
I told you, and you kind of flipped around on that one, because he said, no, it ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen.
Oh, 100%. I agree. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
And on Jones' show, there was a car they were talking about where Senator Duckworth is saying about getting a completely unbiased or neutral, another one of these hearings with somebody that's unbiased and neutral. Never going to happen. Our country is so polarized. It's like when I was in the service way back when.
You're a Cold War veteran. I heard the other day you were talking about that. Yes.
In fact, it was 44 years ago.
Wow.
Sunday, but
thank you for your service. Go ahead.
We never heard that back then. It still sounds foreign to me, but thanks anyway for your
sure,
time.
Of course.
We had a lot of guys that had been Vietnam and stuff, and we were talking and asking them about it, curious and all of this stuff. And the guy said, because after one of these shows, he said, look, over there you were either a juicer or a head. He said, nobody was straight over here. And that's kind of like, you could put it for the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. One's a juicer and one's a head.
Wow.
Neither one wants to understand, they can't understand each other, but they're all looking for the same thing,
Well, and
relief.
I think that I struggle with that because, when I ran for office, whenever someone would say, when I rang a lot of doorbells. My friend Jerry and I were out there every day, walking miles, ringing bells, shaking hands when you could. And I remember whenever someone would ask me, are you a Democrat or Republican? And if I said Democrat, I could feel that door starting to come close, like they were just ready to slam it. And if they gave me the opportunity, I would tell them that my dad was a lifelong Republican and my mother is a Democrat. I grew up in a household where you could have different political beliefs and still not just, coexist, but love each other. I honestly, though, I always knew my dad was wrong, but that's beside the point. But you could have conversations. You could live with each other. You could love each other and still look beyond that. But we are not at that place, and I don't know how we get back to being able to have conversations with each other. Do you?
I don't know. I don't know who the peacemaker is going to be. Because nobody wants to back down. Everybody's all, that, if I give in this, it's a sign of weakness, so.
Yeah, we see that all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, did you get that thing in the mail yet?
I did. Thank you very much.
Now, how is that not fraud?
I don't know. We got to find out.
But you might want to share that with our radio friend that's in Michigan.
All right, I will do that. Thank you so much.
Hey, be well, Patty.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Dave. Talk to you later. Coming up after our break, we're going to check in with comedian Brad Lee Tassel. He's always got some takes on what's going on in the news, and you can join us for our virtual comedy show every Thursday night. We'll talk about that when we come back on WCPT 820, Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Lower your energy bills and reduce your carbon footprint with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic update.
Southbound side of DeSable Lakeshore Drive is jammed from North Avenue on down to the Chicago Avenue light. Northbound's bumper to bumper from Grand back up to Chicago Avenue. In Aurora, there's a crash, a vehicle in a pond. That's at Butterfield Road and DuPage Parkway. In Downers Grove, a crash at 75th and Fairmount Avenue. In Addison, there's a wreck at Army Trail Road and Swift. Headed in on the Edens, Lake Cook Road down to the junction, 46 minutes, solid from Dempster on into the Kennedy Merge. Now, the Kennedy outbound is 24 to the split 21 in the Express, 46 out to O'Hare. Inbound from O'Hare, busy, hour 5, 31 alone on in from the junction. Ike outbound, hefty out to Manheim from the Circle to 390, 58 minutes. Inbound crawling from Wolf to Austin, 390 back in, hour 9. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
All too often, the media are ignoring the everyday heroics of our policemen and women. Well, that changes on News Nation. Dan Abrams and his live PD sidekick Sticks are back in prime time on Dan Abrams Live, weeknights at 8, 7 Central on News Nation.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, men of all races across the country volunteered to join the fight, despite the United States Army being heavily segregated. Black enlistees were mostly assigned to combat support roles. But this did not stop Lieutenant Colonel Paul L. Bates, who knew of the racism and pushed his soldiers to achieve excellence. The 761st Tank Battalion was formed in the spring of 1942. It contained 30 black officers, 6 white officers, and 676 enlisted men. The unit donned the nickname the Black Panthers, wearing patches on their uniforms with a panther on it and the slogan, "Come Out Fighting." And in 1944, the 761st was assigned to General George Patton's Third Army in France. General Patton gave a colorful speech to his crew, and the Black Panthers became the first African-American tank squad in World War II. And by the end of the war, the Black Panthers had fought further east than every other United States unit, receiving 391 decorations for their heroism.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
That theme song, by the way, is by Steve Goody, who is the other side of the virtual comedy show every Thursday night. He and Bradley Tassel, who joins us on the line, started this incredible Thursday night event during the pandemic, and it's always an honor to join them. And I have a blast, and I've learned a lot. And you really helped me get through the pandemic too, Brad. How are you doing?
Oh, that is fantastic. And you're using the theme song on your show. That's amazing.
Isn't that cool? I know the producer on the show. It's me.
Yeah. Well, and so Steve gets a wild. Steve can't help but do a song for. There's a theme song for the worst joke of the week that is shorter than the actual theme song for the joke.
I love that. Here's my question, Brad. You do all your material on Thursday night shows are always topical. It's everything that's in the news, whether it's pop culture or politics. Were you had you been writing topical material before the pandemic as much?
No.
Wow.
Oh my God, nothing.
Yeah.
Never.
Really?
No, I don't in my regular life and comedy, I never do topical, never do political, never so like that. And it was just became a necessity. Now it's a lot of fun. I love doing it. And I love
you're great.
Together. And I like when the jokes make sense. A lot of them are poorly done, but, when you write 15 a week, only about half are going to be mildly funny. But although that reminds me of something that I want to talk about this week, and I want your opinion and maybe your guest's opinion.
Yes.
We went to a football game on the WKU-IU game, and so I'm sitting, we're second row, best seats in the house, right? And right in front of us are all the cheerleaders doing their cheers.
Okay.
I'm a 56-year-old man, right? 56. Now, the goal of the cheerleaders is for us to cheer with them and watch them cheer. Yet, they're 19, 20, 21-year-old young ladies. They're very attractive people. I feel like I can't look at them in the world today because they're up and their legs are in the air, and I'm like looking everywhere but at these young women because I feel like it's creepy if I'm looking at them.
I guess it depends on how you're looking at them. If you're licking your chops, that's weird. Exactly. No, I mean, no. I don't think that they personally aren't going to. Are you concerned about your spouse? Are you concerned about the people around you?
No, she was right with me, laughing at me for looking like they would all put their legs in the air, and I would look away immediately, like, oh, look, what's that over there? What's that? And she even hit me one time and said, hey, they're wearing shorts. And I said, oh, well, at least that's good because they don't wear the little briefs anymore, which is great.
The bikini bottom under the skirt, right?
I don't know. I feel a little. No, I look at them a little bit and then look away and stuff like that. And I'm not staring. I was on a nude cruise. I learned not to stare, and I don't do that.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. But the goal is that they want us to look at them.
Hold on. Okay, yes, that part, yes. But also, can we just stop for a second? Did you say you did a nude cruise?
Yes, I worked the nude cruise. By the way, everybody take a Carnival cruise, not necessarily the nude one. But yes.
I did. I mean, of course, there's a nude cruise. Have you ever? Isn't there a nude retreat in Indiana as well?
Oh, there in Bloomington. There's a comedy show at one, and in northern Indiana, they're all over the place. And what's funny about it, there is zero sexual about it. These are the least sexual people you've ever met at all. They're very conservative normally.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you did the comedy show, was the audience nude? I mean, is it just nude all the time? And
no, that's the funny thing about it is only about a third of them are nude at any time, mostly at the pool. So you see now, the first two people right next to me in the shows that love the shows were like Aunt Marge and Uncle Pete, and they were totally nude for some reason. And I actually had cut my head, and this woman stands up and comes to the stage with a napkin to wipe my forehead as she's totally naked.
Oh, gosh.
But mostly it's women with topless with a little drape on. Maybe a guy is kind of nude. Some people aren't nude at all because it's not their thing. But what's interesting is the only ones, and your listeners can come to me and talk about this, the only ones that I think are the creepy dudes, a guy in a T-shirt and no pants.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's a creep.
I mean, it just seems like, it would be disturbing to see someone. It would just seem like they forgot something, which is either leave the shirt behind or also put the pants on.
It's an infantile thing. It's about guys, and it's a dude with a T-shirt and no pants is a creep. That's all there's to it.
This is what I want you to see. I don't want you to see the top part, but you definitely got to see this. I guess.
And because that's how little 2-year-old boys and 1-year-old boys they do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And no. I'm sorry. How did we get on this? I apologize.
This cheerleaders. You were talking about how you know how to look away, having done the nude cruises, so you feel you feel like that's your superpower, the ability to look away as though what's happening in front of you is not occurring.
Yes. Well, it's like I haven't been to a strip bar kind of place in 30 years, but when I did go, I wouldn't look at them. I would look in their face. I had to guarantee that they knew I was looking at their face.
That had to freak them out. They don't want to make eye contact. It's like paying attention during the instructions from a flight attendant, the emergency instructions. They don't. When you make eye contact with them, they freak out because no one else does. No one pays attention. I would imagine the dancers are like, "Why is he looking at me in the eye?" Okay, let me ask.
I'm a really bad pervert.
So let me ask you this then, in regards to the strip clubs, was this something, because I remember when I was on the road more often, like that was the thing the comics would do at the end of the night, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm going drinking at the strip club, and I've been to some weird strip clubs across this country. Like there was one in Dayton, Ohio, where the bar, it was just a bar, and then in the middle of the actual bar they had the poles. It was very strange. And then there was one in Aberdeen, South Dakota, where they weren't allowed to reveal that part of the breast. They had to cover it up with, and they would use Band-Aids, like in an X mark. And I remember one of them had like Flintstone Band-Aids on her breasts.
Little Flintstone. Oh my God. Well, let me say this. It's been so long since I've been in like a strip bar. They didn't do poles. There were no poles back when I was. And I only went because the 3 times I went, it's because like one of the strippers was a comedian on the side. Oh. Tim Wilson, great comedian and I, we're at Nashville. This girl is at the open mic, and this is 30 years ago at least, and she's talking to me, and she says, yeah, I'm a dancer. Well, I thought she meant a dancer because I didn't know it. I said, oh, great. I said, I took ballet in college, and I took, and I'm explaining. She's like, oh, yeah, great. So then Tim's like, hey, man, let's go to this all-nude strip bar. And I said, oh, God. He goes, yeah, let's go. So we go. We walk in the door. She is on stage when we walk in, totally nude. Oh. She saw us and ran off stage.
Oh.
I know. And then she came out dressed and talked to us. But I know.
Wow. And by the way, Tim Wilson was incredible. I used to open for him.
Incredible.
Oh my, the hardest show, one of the hardest shows I've ever done was you know this, we've done casinos. And when I was on stage, people were just still coming in. It was like a huge 1,000-seat room, and they were all coming to see Tim. They knew he wasn't going to be first, so they didn't care. They're all wandering in. And I finally, toward the end of the 30 minutes I was supposed to do, I had a big enough crowd, and I was starting to get some laughs. And then, of course, Tim comes out, and he just kills it. Only at toward the 10 minutes before he's done, there's some raffle thing that's going to happen in the casino, so they all just start leaving. So he had like the flip side, like he finished his show with like 18 people in a 1,000-seat room.
18 people?
Oh, it was almost empty. Yeah, everyone was, because once people start leaving, other people are like, oh, what are we missing? We should probably be going too. So everyone, like the whole room, I was standing.
Why are they leaving?
Because there was something happening in the casino that they wanted to see if they won something. That's the whole point of being.
Oh my God!
I know. I hate casinos. And you've been back on the cruise ships. How has that been going? I mean,
safest place on the earth. Safest place on the earth. I'm telling you right now. First of all, 100% vaccinated crew, and 97 on Carnival. And by the way, I don't speak for Carnival, but I'm saying what my view is. 97+% passengers vaccinated. Crew wears masks all the time. Comics, we can't go in crew areas whatsoever.
Okay.
But we all wear tracers. We all wear wrist tracers, so that if you stand next to somebody for more than 15 minutes, your names go together, and if there's a breakthrough case of any kind, everybody who has been near them is then quarantined for 7 days.
Wow.
And to my knowledge, they've had almost no cases, and they've had nothing. On the ship I was on, it was perfect. And it's very chill. Ship's only half full, so it's very calm. People are so sweet. The shows are amazing. Everybody should go out.
I've never done a cruise ship. I've never performed on a cruise ship. And when the pandemic was starting and I heard about comics being trapped on boats, I was like, yep, I probably can never, psychologically, I would never want to go on a ship in the event that I would be trapped. I would not want that to be my...
You're not going to be trapped. That's and it wasn't that many, and it wasn't that many comics.
All right.
You're going crazy. Although, now, I don't know, would you want... You have so much that you do, and would your family go ever?
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you want that.
My
you don't
husband
want it or need it in your life.
Well, my husband would never, ever, ever. He does not want to be around strangers. And I don't know if and I'm sure that you handle this well. I don't know how I would feel about being around an audience like the next morning or the next few days, and people coming over and going, "Do your mom's voice again," that kind of stuff. Do you get that? Do people do they try to get jokes out of you while you're at the buffet?
They would say that to you. Yeah, they would say that to you. Do your mom's voice. Well, you can obviously know what I get. I get 100 Robin Williamses a day. You know who you look like? I have to do it in the show, or I will get it even more. I have to explain because, and then they still come up. You know who you look like? Now, right now, we hide and are wearing masks. So, and we don't get to also get too cozy with the passengers either.
Right.
So you have to stay 6 feet away. So it's been great. But yeah, and Ronnie Bullard, great comment. He goes, yeah, there's nothing worse than if your first show's really bad on the ship, and now you've got to see all these people for the next 4 days.
Exactly. I mean, I remember I was in Birmingham, Alabama for 3 weeks, and oh my God! By the way, Brad, I got fired on the first night because it was
3 weeks.
I was there for 3 weeks. Bruce and my manager was Rick Hewitt, who used to own the Zanies, and they hired me to be the feature act for 3 weeks. It was going to be different. It was during the holiday season, and they were going to have different headliners. And I came in, and they told me I needed to be clean, and I ran the material past my manager. He's like, "Yeah, that'll be fine. Don't worry about it." But I also had material about drinking, about like when I was younger and what that was like and stuff like. And Bruce called me in his office. He goes, "Pretty lady like you shouldn't be talking about drinking like that. We're not going to be able to use you for the holiday season. I'm going to have to let you go." And I was like,
"This is a Stardome you're talking about."
Yeah. And so I called my manager, and he goes, "Look, go back in his office, tell him to just give you one more shot, that you'll take that material out." And I had to do a whole different 30. I mean, like, not a whole different 30, but it pushed me to write new material. I came back the next day, did another show, and he let me stay. But it was hard because it was a lot of new material that I was doing for big audiences. The Stardome is a beautiful theater. And I would have nights where, like, one night this guy turned around, and I can't use the language he used, but he basically said, turned around to his friends and goes, "We don't got to listen to this girl," and they all turned their backs on me. I don't know if it was the name. They had opened the Homeland Security office there. It was 2005, and I think they opened it because I was a Mexican that came into town. But
yes, that's right.
I struggled, and I'll tell you, I sold more shirts than I ever had until that. I mean, it was amazing. I had to have shirts flown, but they wouldn't laugh. Like, they just were, like, sometimes they would. And I remember I was at the mall, and this girl came up to me. She goes, "I saw your show last night." She goes, "I'm so sorry." She goes, "I thought you were funny."
That's my favorite. Whenever they go, "Well, I thought she was funny. I know I was up with everybody else." And half the time I'm like, "Wait, they were laughing? What are you talking about?
No,
where were you that nobody was laughing? What?"
Yeah, no, and it was one of those things where everyone's like, "No, you were fine. You did great." And then when she said that, I'm like, "Nope, it's going as badly as I thought it was." I know. We're hanging out with Bradley Tassel. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation and find out about all the fun Halloween stuff that he and Steve Goody have in store for you online that you can enjoy and purchase one of the best Halloween album available. And I can't wait to tell people about the Christmas stuff too coming up. More in a moment on
Hanukkah.
What was that? And Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
It's Bradley Tassel on the line with a 773-763-WCPT. That's 773-763-9278. Feel free to give us a call and hang out with us. More in a moment.
The David Pakman Show.
There's lots of states that are never going back into lockdown no matter what. There are states that have made it clear, no matter what happens, we're not putting any guidelines back on. Delta is here. 90% of U.S. cases now, I believe, are Delta. Businesses are open, things are open, and so on and so forth. But things are going to get very ugly if we don't get more people vaccinated.
The David Pakman Show. Weekday evenings at 8 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-590-7516. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-590-7516. 800-590-7516.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people will remember radio ads. So, 82% of you listening will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. 82% of you will note that if you're hiring, ZipRecruiter finds qualified people for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And 82% of you will remember that you can try ZipRecruiter for free. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
my friend Marty. He wants to split the party. He wants blue folks in red states to vote green. I can see his point, though I really gotta say, no, we can't have another 2016. It seems nothing beats orange, nothing even freaking rhymes with it. What's a battered nation supposed to do?
What are we supposed to do, Bradley Tassel? You're listening to WCPT 820, and we're online with comedian Bradley Tassel, whose comedy show, virtual comedy show, is available, is live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. You can go to virtualcomedyshow.com, and we have a blasting topical stuff, stories, topics, and we have great headliners. Brad, I love the people that you bring into this show. It's so much fun.
Well, we have such, like Lauren and Carla and all those we have such a joyous, fun, happy group. And what I love is we have like the people who come watch this show every week, because you can be in the show. If you go to virtualcomedyshow.com on Thursdays at 8 Central and you click join the show, you're in the show. And we used to have, in the beginning, we would have 50, 80, 90 people, and they didn't know how to act. And we pared it down to, what do we have? 15 or 20 is all now, but then we have people listening out that are just the best laughers, and comics love doing the show because they really get laughs on the show.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I think my favorite, and I can't remember his name, we could see that he was in his, he has an RV or something. He was like at a state fair.
Keith Ellis.
Yes.
Keith Ellis.
That was the most
high pressure sales.
He does what was that? He does high pressure sales?
He also, his other job is he works at state fairs during state fair season for a mop company where he goes and he gets people so they live in an RV and they travel from state fair to state fair.
Oh my gosh. It was just fascinating. I was so distracted by the Ferris wheel behind him out the door of his RV. That was my dream, was to have an RV and just do, because I used to work for Muller. For folks who don't know, comedy, there are comedy bookers all over the country, and you'll hear, when comics start talking about, behind the curtain, we talk about Yoder and Muller, and yeah. Did you work for Muller?
I worked for Muller with Gent Monk back in the day, if you remember him. But he also then became a hypnotist and was the dirtiest hypnotist in the world, and then he passed away.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Jay Medicine Hat is what he called himself.
Jay Medicine Hat. I've actually been to Medicine Hat, Canada. No relation, I don't think. But that was one of the longest trips in my life. I did 2 weeks in Canada, and it was rough. I went as far north as Flin Flon, Canada, where the sun does not really go down ever, I don't think.
Okay, Flin Flon. I'm in Flin Flon. I'm in the hotel, and I go, hey, I'm going to go jogging. And they said, don't leave town. And I said, why? Well, 10 people have been attacked by bears this month.
Oh, my God. No.
Don't leave town.
Don't leave town.
The gig in Flin Flon, it was at a fishing, place. And we walk in the room. It's totally dark. There's a light bulb hanging over a pool table. And we said, where are we doing the show? They said, right there. And they put a mic up. And a guy with a 10-foot pole hooked the string over the light bulb and pulled it out over in front of the pool table, and we stood under that light as he held it with the pole, and that's where we did the show.
Oh my God.
We killed.
I believe it. I mean, they definitely, that's what people don't get, and that's why I loved doing the road so much, was that people loved that we came to their towns to do stand-up comedy. Don't you think?
You did the show at the hotel in Saskatchewan that was so far north, the road ended, and it was the tundra.
Right.
And it was a hotel, and you worked on the dance floor, and in the afternoon, they had a stripper that laid out a cloth, like a big comforter, and she would roll around on it naked, and they would throw toonies and loonies at her.
What are toonies and loonies? That the money?
That's $1 and $2 coins in Canada.
I did not become familiar with their currency while I was there. I just mostly wanted to survive the 2 weeks in the car with Kevin Burke. Did I ever tell you that? We can talk about that some other time. Yeah.
Oh my God. So you have PTSD from that.
Yes, it was. Look, it could have been anybody when you're in the car for 2 weeks driving through Canada. Yeah, I know.
No, that's the worst. Did he keep his hands off?
We'll talk about that some other time off the air.
Okay, we will.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
hey, here's one of my favorite jokes in the last couple of weeks for people that want the stuff. I think this is a well-written joke.
Yes.
The Florida courts have ruled school districts can enforce mandates. Governor DeSantis responded, "I will fight this to every kid's last breath."
Yep. That's really. See, it's what it's like on our. Did you see that my friend Kirk Bankstead from Minocqua Brewing, they do progressive beer, #progressive beer, is challenging, is going to sue all the school districts that are not having a mask mandate. He's calling attendance at school without masks super spreaders because the kids can carry COVID and then bring it into the community. So he is launching lawsuits across the state of Wisconsin. Huh?
Yeah, people are dying.
Yeah.
This is in Minnesota?
This is in Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Yes.
Because Minocqua Brewing targets every school board in Wisconsin, not mandates. That is so great.
Right? I think it's brilliant. Yep.
I think that's fantastic because it is. It's this selfish, entitled garbage behavior for things that are the right thing to do is amazing to me.
Yeah, he's calling it a public safety issue and is seeking, obviously some sort of action sooner rather than later. This isn't something that he wants to tie up in the courts. He's trying to make sure that people are safe in the communities, and he got shut down by the pandemic and struggled, but decided to turn this into into something that was positive. He put up a huge a Biden banner and was fined for having a banner that was too big. Yeah, so he went online and raised tens of thousands of dollars to cover the fines and keep his banner up. It's amazing.
Well, he's got Biden beer out too.
He's got Biden beer, Bernie Brew, Kamala Stout. I'm not saying I've tried these, Brad, but I've tried them. They're very good.
Oh, they're very good. Hey, well,
yes.
what's interesting? What's interesting to me about all this is all the people that scream out and they say, "I don't want to wear no face diaper," which tells you what's coming out of their mouth.
Exactly. Do they hear themselves? Yeah. What kind of crap are you eating and saying? And what? Yeah, we could say that. As you travel around the country, I've not been in any sort of confrontation with someone who, you get stares from somebody. I am often in parts of the country the only person walking in. Like if I'm in Indiana and I see that no one's wearing a mask, I walk back out. Wisconsin, I tried not to be self-conscious about it. I know I'm vaccinated. And that's what they'll tell you. Well, you're vaccinated, so what do you care? But I can carry it if you have it. If you are, Yes.
I tell everybody, and I don't, look, you know what? I see all these people on TikTok all over the world acting crazy. I don't see any of these people.
Yeah, I don't either.
And nobody cares. So that's one of the problems in the world is we see all these people on the news doing that way, but they don't see them in public, and then they decide everybody's hateful. So I don't see all these people, and I've told people even recently, like when we were at this game and stuff like that, wearing masks and nobody else is. And I always say, look, I work for Carnival Cruise Lines. I cannot walk on that ship if I test positive. I know I'm not going to get that sick, stuff like that. But I cannot then work, and I'm great with them having that mandate and stuff, but I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to do everything I can so that I get to go to work. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's the thing is that it's the idea that it's just one thing, my freedom, it's a personal choice, if something happens to me, all these things, and it's like, but it's not just about you. I get that we have this American ideal of independence and freedom, but I was listening to someone talk about this today. Like everything in your life is regulated in some way in order for you to be safe, for the people around you to be safe, whether it's traffic laws or the way your coffee maker is built has to meet some safety standards. We're asking you to meet a safety standard, right?
Right. Vaccines. You have to get vaccinated for everything else. You can't school unless you have every other vaccine.
Right.
Why are they complaining about this one, which is realistically been studied a heck of a lot more, even in less time, than a lot of the other ones, and has shown in 180 million people that it's not a problem. Yes, right. I know. I don't get it whatsoever.
No. We have to go. We didn't get a chance to talk about the Halloween stuff. Where can people find all the great work that you do and the virtual comedy show? Go ahead.
Here's what everybody should do. They should go to halloween.hearenow.com. But That's where but the Halloween album is the greatest Halloween album in history.
Yes.
It's everywhere. Everywhere you want to go. Brad Tassel, Steve Goody, Vampires Ball, Ultimate Halloween Party, and put it on your playlist, please, heavens, please.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Brad. I'll see you on Thursday.
Oh, yes.
Excellent. It's Bradley Tassel, and I'm sorry, Paul, I couldn't get to your call about the mask holes. I saw it, and I couldn't get to it because the show's over, because Rick Unger is up next. Bye, Brad. Bye, everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Debbie. Everyone here at WCPT. We're done.
AP News, I'm Jackie Quinn. President Biden and House Democrats are working to scale back areas of his $3.5 trillion social program bill, hoping to get two holdouts in the Senate on board. Press Secretary